Hello, everybody, and welcome to EUphoria, the channel that highlights and celebrates the diversity of talent in the European TTRPG actual play scene. The socials for EUphoria are listed below, so make sure you follow on all the socials and follow us on Twitch. Help us get that number up if you haven't already. My name is Michelle, and I will be your GM for this, the first part of a multi-part Blades in the Dark series. Blades in the Dark is a game created by John Harper, published by Evil Hat Productions. Some general content warnings for this game. The setting is loosely a dark fantasy, Victorian England kind of vibe. So themes which are very likely to come up include poverty, class disparity, police violence, and all sorts of occult spooky shenanigans. Some more detailed content warnings will be in the chat. If you want to get some more detailed content warnings, our lovely producers will be posting those periodically throughout the stream. Now, let's get on with introducing our beautiful, gorgeous cast of players. I'm going to go around and please can you give us your name, your pronouns, a little quick visual description for anyone who's not able to see us well, and where in the world, where in Europe, you are right now. I'm just going to go based on who's on the order of my screen. So, Sakaya, can you kick us off?
Hello everyone, I am Sakaya, I go by she, her pronouns. I am a white trans woman, I've got long white hair hidden underneath a black veil, and I'm currently, I am based in Aberdeen.
Amazing. Cash.
Hi everyone, I'm Cash. I'm going to give you a quick description. I use she, her pronouns, and I have light brown skin. I needed to look that up, what color my skin is, I'm sorry. I have medium length curly hair, and I have brown eyes. Oh yeah, and I'm based in Germany, in Leipzig.
Amazing. And Gask.
Hello, my name is Gaskinator. I use she, her pronouns. I am the whitest person you've ever seen. No matter how white anyone else describes himself in this channel, I need you to know that I'm whiter. I'm wearing a blue hoodie that says Stinky Boy. I have red hair. I'm a little ginger freak, and I am based in the northeast of Ireland. If you couldn't tell by the fact that I have ginger hair and I'm very white.
I love it. I'm very evocative. The Stinky Boy hoodie is a particular highlight. I love it. And hey, me. I'm Michelle. Hi, my pronouns are she, her. I am a mixed race woman. I have brown skin, long, straight black hair, and brown eyes. And I am inside my very boring looking recording booth. So it's just a plain white background. Aren't you guys excited by that? And I am joining you from sunny Yorkshire in England. Now, before we get started, I love to ask a little question of all of our players, just so that you all who maybe haven't met these wonderful players before get a little idea of what makes them tick. So the question I want to ask you all is, can you name one thing, of I'm sure many, which inspired the character you've created for this game? Let's go in the same order. So Sakaya.
Okay, well, mine is quite simple. Mervyn Peake wrote a trilogy of novels known as the Gormenghast trilogy, I think, which are a sort of a fantasy about a hideous family. It's all very sort of dank and grimy, and I'm going for those sort of very. There's an illustrator called Edward Gorey, who I think may have even illustrated a version of the Gormenghast, but don't quote me on that. And has that very same vibe, very sort of black ink, scratchy kind of thing going on. So it was that kind of mood I wanted to. As if you couldn't tell, bring to the forefront with Kirsten.
I love that. I've not read those books.
They're very, very good.
Okay, that's going on my list of books to read. Cash, how about you?
I'm going to play a military general who is, well, I guess inspired by, or loosely inspired by, the smell of cigars, by the taste of black coffee, and maybe also the feeling that you get after beating your worst enemy to the bloody death and then having them kind of beg for mercy afterward.
It's been a few weeks since I can evoke that feeling.
I have experienced 2 of those, but I'll never tell you which. And Gask, what about you?
My guy was mostly inspired by this webtoon comic I've read, where it's like a very it's called Nevermore. It's based has a lot of Edgar Allan Poe isms. Very gothic, very almost Alice in Wonderlandy vibes. And there's this side character. The main comic is very sapphic and beautiful, and you should definitely read that. But there's this cowboy guy in it, and he's just a piece of shit, way more than I'm gonna be in this game. Like, he's actually truly a horrible person. But it was just like the cowboy aesthetic mixed with like a social manipulator that was very interesting to me, because usually they're just like, I'm an action hero, I'm gonna shoot you. But he was very like, he knew how to use his words, and yeah, that was interesting to me.
That's also so cool. I've not read that. Okay, so I have a new trilogy of books to read, a new comic to read, and I need to light a cigar and beat someone. This all sounds
In
great.
that order, yeah. In
Yeah,
that order.
okay. Get my culture and then get my beatings.
Yeah.
Love it. And I'll shoot you one as well. A little preview. The premise of the game we're going to play tonight was loosely inspired by a novel by Elizabeth Gaskell called North and South, which is, Sakaya must have read it. It's a novel that I absolutely adore. It is set sort of during the Industrial Revolution, and it's a romance, and it's a meditation on class divides, and it's brilliant. So there you go. There's a bunch of recommendations for things you can do after you've watched this stream, because obviously we're about to start playing Blades in the Dark.
I mean, you can smoke a cigar while watching. No one's going to stop you, I think, on that regard.
That's so true, and I think the black coffee will only serve to enhance the experience. So, let's go.
Euphoria presents a Blades in the Dark actual play. Starring Michelle as the GM, Cash plays General, Sakaya plays Harpy, and Gask plays Bootleg. The Ballad of the Silver Spectres.
In the city of Duskfall, it is always dark. Ever since the cataclysm that shattered the sun itself, awakened the sleeping demons of the world, and tore holes in the barrier between the lands of the living and the dead, people are used to life in the half-light. The city is illuminated only by the electroplasmic light of lampposts, and at the borders, by the impossibly tall lightning barriers, keeping the demons, spirits, and monsters of the Deathlands out. The city has enough demons of its own to deal with. In the palatial estates of Brightstone, the wealthy few enjoy luxury afforded them by their coal mines, ironworks, and gigantic Leviathan hunting ships, while elsewhere, the majority scrape by in low-paid, dangerous jobs, or turn to other ways of making a living. The streets are haunted by criminal gangs, the most dangerous of these being the Bluecoats, aka the city's law enforcement. The streets are also haunted by the ghosts of their victims. Ordinary people keep their heads low as they dodge the rumbling carriages in the cobbled streets, hitch a ride through the canals on a gondola, pull up a bar stool in a dingy pub. But there are a few who are willing to stick their heads above the parapet and fight for change. We see a factory, the largest in the Coalridge district, its enormous iron gates chained shut. Inside the gates, the chief foreman, Master Slane, stands with his other senior staff, sneering. Outside, kept at bay by a row of bluecoats, a crowd of workers stand waving placards and chanting for fair pay and safer conditions. The crowd seem confident, almost amused, as the usual end-of-month train carriage pulls on the iron rails up to a side gate and is permitted entry. Of course, there will be nothing to load onto this delivery train, with nobody manning the factory floors for the past month. Of course, the train will leave empty, and their master will have no choice but to give in. So imagine how Slane's cold sneer turns into a colder laugh as his 4 men open the delivery door, and the rail workers jump down from the train and begin loading brand new metal parts for Lord Strangford's growing Leviathan Hunter fleet onto the train cars. The crowd falls silent. The laughter and the clanging of metal against metal is the only sound. And then, the Bluecoats charge. The following night, we meet 3 people on their way from the rundown district of 6 Towers into that same factory district. Though they keep to the shadows, anyone who did manage to get a good look at them would find that they are rather interesting characters. So, let's meet them. Cash, can you please introduce us to your character?
Yes, I can. My character is General Arlo, a handsome giant. He has very strong arms, just like me, as you can see. He has a dark mustache, black trousers that he wears, and a shirt that is loosely tucked into those trousers, and some very nice and expensive-looking suspenders. And he also has a little like a pistol kind of tucked into his belt that hangs there loosely and that he has his hand on at all times. And he's, kind of manning over the group, looking around.
Amazing. I will mention as well that General Arlo has in his hand a little sort of sketchily hand-drawn map to a meeting point that a contact has left for you to find somewhere. Who else is with you, General Arlo?
With me is my beloved mother, who might be able to explain what she looks like herself.
Let's hear it.
Yes, walking a couple of paces behind her handsome, strapping, doting son is Kirsten of the Vale. She has foregone her family name. She was once a wealthy landowner from Scotland. Since the death of her husband, she was captured, shall we say, by troops and brought here to Duskwall. And she is dressed very much as you see me now. She has maintained this mourning garb ever since the death of her husband, Arlo's father, and it never shows her flesh, her face, her hands. They're all covered behind black lace.
Now, there is one more person accompanying this beautiful family scene. So, Gask, please tell us all about who you'll be playing.
Well, suave as always, Bootleg, is probably... I don't know if you have the map, so he's not leading the charge, but he's like trying to act like he is. Bootleg has like long, dirty blonde hair that ends around his shoulders, a very narrow but like angular face that's full of scruff, a false gold tooth, a bolo tie, a tattered tailcoat, shoes that are somehow still shiny even though we're walking on these like cobbled streets, and just absolute a sense of bravado coming from him. And obviously the cowboy hat. How could I forget? But yeah, all of which mark him as like a former Severos. Is it the Deathlands or the Deadlands?
The Deathlands. Yeah.
Deathlands, yeah. A member of that fun place who's now moved into the city and is clearly here to throw his weight around.
Amazing. So these are the 3 figures who cut quite an interesting picture as they make their way through the streets. You follow this little sketched out map you've been given past the big factory buildings into the more residential part of Coalridge. Here, the squat, blank looking, uninteresting residences are crowded in next to each other, on top of each other, the streets narrowing and narrowing as more and more cheap not very exciting housing has been built up to house the workers. Being inside this area feels a little bit like being inside a suitcase that someone is failing to close. But you find your way to the place marked on the map by somebody from the Scovlan community here in Duskfall. There are a lot of people who have immigrated from that nation, or even have come as refugees, and you do tend to sort of keep in touch, I think, as people who are very proud Scovlan people. And someone has asked you to come and meet at what looks to be a closed and very, very dingy and rundown cafe. But as you arrive, you see another piece of paper in the window on the door, which says, community meal for striking workers and families. Welcome in. What do you all do?
I think I look up from the map and I look into this window where this paper is hanging, and I turn to the group and say, I think this is it. Mama, should we go inside?
Indeed. Let us go in.
Bootleg graciously opens the door with a swift bow. Ladies first.
Kirsten sweeps past.
And of course, General.
And then Arlo does the same and kind of throws a small little, almost like a smile, but you're not really sure, Bootleg, if the smile is gentle or...
Can anything General does can it be considered gentle?
No. And then I'll go inside as well.
I got punched in the face by a smile.
So I think usually, Kirsten, someone of your stature and presence in full morning garb is probably used to commanding a room the moment that you walk into anywhere. But right now, no one's paying a great deal of attention to you three walking in. In fact, there seems to be something of a shouting match that you've entered into, as one of the factory workers, who kind of has someone else trying to lay a placating hand on his shoulder but is shrugging it off, is shouting at a Scovlan woman standing across the cafe from him and saying, "Listen, Belle, I know you think it's all going to be fun and games, and that these fancy ideas you've brought us about unionizing are going to be all sorting everything out for us, but it's clear since yesterday that this whole strike thing is just not going to pan out. We're running out of money here. I can't feed my family on one community meal a week, all right? And now they seem to have found someone else who's willing to do the work, even if we're not. If we don't go back and say, never mind, sorry, we'll come back, then we're not going to have any jobs at all. We're going to get completely eliminated. We may have to take a pay cut just to get back in there at this rate." And the woman that he is calling Belle, a very tall, imperious-looking woman with bright red hair pulled back into a very severe bun, is kind of trying to stay calm in the face of this shouting, and says, "I understand that it's not ideal." And that's as far as she gets, because he says, "Ideal does not begin to cover it. I appreciate what you're doing here with the food and all, but it's just not going to do it. If we don't get this sorted in the next couple of days, me and the boys are heading back." And he gestures to the boys, the group of men he has with him, and makes his way out. And there's kind of an awkward silence left as the families who are still here kind of put their heads down over their bowls of soup as though they hadn't seen that. But you kind of get the impression, I think, from glancing around, that quite a few of them agree with Mr. Shouty there. But Belle is the name of the contact you were given, General. I don't know if you've actually met her before, but you may know of her, as she is a Scovlan herself, who is quite a bit of a community leader. So I think she'll clock the three of you and kind of slightly embarrassed, kind of, "Welcome. Sorry you had to say that, but come on over. There's a wee bit of soup left."
You weren't the one pitching a fit.
No, but you know, he has his reasons. But can I get you all any soup? There's a wee bit left.
Mighty kind of you.
She will kind of smile to sort of a broad gentleman in a sort of dirty apron and a grey moustache, who you get the impression is the owner of this cafe, who scoops out the last of the soup from the pot into three mugs and brings it over for the three of you.
Nothing for me, my dear.
Are you sure, Mama? You should eat.
Well, just a small bit, perhaps.
That's right.
She's like, as much as you like. There's no pressure. Someone will eat it certainly if you don't. But you're very welcome to it. Thank you for coming. I do appreciate it. So I know I didn't give you a lot of information. But I'm sure you've seen in the papers that it's been a month we've been striking now here at the ironworks, and well, the reason that you just saw Lyle pitching a fit is that somehow it appears they've continued to manufacture things in the factory without us. Which means that we thought yesterday was going to be the big victory when they realised they couldn't do without us, and they ask us to come back and they say, oh, of course we'll give you the pay raise, of course we'll negotiate with you. And that's not what happened at all. We don't understand how it's possible. The factory's been locked up since we all walked out. We haven't seen people coming in and out since the first week of the strike. And yet, the factory's still working. I've heard that yourselves are a group who are talented at getting into places you maybe aren't supposed to be.
You could say that.
You've heard right, yes. But our services don't come cheap.
Well, I'll be honest with you. We haven't got a huge amount. Most of the hardship fund has been going towards feeding everyone, but between us all, we've got together about a week's wages for each of you. And I mean, if the pay negotiations go well, we may well be able to do better than that.
An investment, to be sure. Well, we better figure out something then. You have any idea who is repairing this?
Well, when us on the factory floor all went on strike, Master Slane, that's the chief foreman, and all of the other 4 men and 4 women, I don't know, they just call them all 4 men. Doesn't seem right, but there you go. They all stayed behind. They're still getting paid, I suppose, but they couldn't possibly be running all the machines. They don't even know how. They just supervise us and yell at us and treat us like dirt.
And is there anybody, nearby who could have that talent?
I mean, there's plenty of factory workers in Coalridge, but they work in other factories, or they work in the mines. And nobody would scab. They wouldn't go ahead and work. They wouldn't break ranks like that. I know, because people have told me that every factory in the whole district is watching us. Because if we succeed, they're going to do it next. They wouldn't want to undermine that.
Well, what do you guys think?
I think a week worth of pay is something that I could say yes to. What do you say, Mama?
I think Kirsten is quiet for a little while, and maybe Belle can't see because of the veil, but she's sort of staring intently at Belle. I'll lean into you a little bit, Arlo. We've both known hardship. We'll accept the payment for now. Let's see how things go. And then a little bit louder so that Belle can hear. In my experience, from a personal point of view, I should say I think what you've done is noble and brave. But if they already have people to replace you, then this Mr. Lyle, was it? Is very much mistaken if he thinks he's going to get his old job back.
It just doesn't seem possible that it's as simple as people. I mean, there's nearly 100 of us that have walked out. If there were that many people heading in there, someone would have seen. There's something else going on. If you can get in and find out what's happening, it would be such a huge start. If you could put a stop to it, well, that could win us everything.
Sounds like a good old-fashioned stakeout.
So, you have been given your request. So, what Belle and the striking workers would like for you to do is somehow find out how the factory is still manufacturing people without any of its stuff, and if possible, as an extra thing, potentially see if you can find a way to make it stop, depending on what it is. So, mechanics chat, hooray! We are now in the gathering information portion of the score. In this section, I'll ask each of you to choose something you're doing to try and prepare for this mission. Find out information. Bootleg said sounds like a stakeout. Staking out the factory could be one thing. It can be anything you like that your character wants to do to try and prepare for your mission. So whoever has an idea, go ahead.
I think Arlo, once we go back to our little base, will start collecting all his weapons that he uses generally for whichever mission they go on to. And he will just start kind of polishing the... what do you call this? The long part of the weapon, I don't know. This is not my native language. Anyhow, he starts polishing the metal of the
hilt.
As in the blade in the dark?
Yes. Anyhow, he starts polishing. Yeah, he starts polishing his weapon, and also very, very, very suavely smokes a cigar at the same time.
Incredible. All right, so you're kind of gathering up your equipment, trying to plan like what kind of things you might need to take with you. I'm trying to think what that would be. I think we could make an argument for it being study, that you're kind of looking over everything that you have and trying to like think about all the different things you might need to do to prepare for this. So what I'd like you to do is roll me a study. Now, Blades in the Dark is a game of consequences, but in gathering information phase, you're in a controlled situation, you're in your element, so if you get a bad roll, nothing bad will happen. You'll just have a less good outcome.
Okay, and so if I have no dot in study, that means that I just roll with one die, right?
You roll two, and the lower number is your result.
All right, okay. I'll do that. Oh my god, the lower number is a 1.
A 1, okay.
Oh no.
That's not
roll,
That's great.
So I think what you find is you get your weaponry and everything's very beautifully polished, but looking over everything, you have known hardship, you and your mother, and as a noble war veteran and general, this is not the quality of weaponry that you would like to have with you when you're going on a covert mission. Maybe you feel a little bit less confident than you would if you had some high quality gear, but right now you're getting by with what you have. So you have some stuff that you can use, but nothing very exciting or unusual prepared for this one. Either of Kirsten of the Vale or Bootleg have something you want to do?
I have an idea. Can I meet up with one of my contacts, the one that likes me, preferably?
Yes, that is Clyra, is that right?
Yes, the tavern owner, and I just want to, I guess, talk and suss out which one of your fine patrons have been coming up with a bit of extra loose change recently. To see if there's like any factions that seem to be having more money, any factory workers like who could be getting paid off to do this job.
Interesting. Okay. Do you know where Clyra works?
A tavern.
A tavern?
Yes.
Oh, that's all right. I'll place her somewhere. Clyra works at the Mustang, which is a tavern which is, as the name suggests, frequented by Severosi people. In fact, there's a rumor that the Severosi gang, the Silver Nails, use it as a base of operations, but you wouldn't know anything about that. But she's there behind the bar. I'm picturing the kind of place that's decorated with horseshoes. Everyone's wearing fringe. It's a little bit yeehaw. And Clyra maybe kind of has adopted this aesthetic, whether or not she particularly shares it. And she's kind of polishing a glass as you ask her this. And let's roll consort to see how much she knows.
So I got 2 in consort, so I roll 2 die and take the highest.
You take the highest one, that's right.
6.
6! Okay, amazing. So with a 6, you get a lot of useful information. So remind me again what you were trying to find out from Clyra.
If there's been anyone coming in with a lot more money than usual, like especially factory workers in other factories, or like a faction that wouldn't usually have the money, because that's Bootleg's thing, is that someone's being paid off to do the actual work.
Okay. Alright, yeah. So Clara's kind of like, she's chewing and she's thinking. She says, well, don't know that I've noticed any factory workers coming up here. It's a little bit out of their price range, usually. I couldn't tell you any factory types from Coalridge drinking here in the Mustang, but, you know, I'll tell you something pretty odd that happened recently. The bill hooks. Some of their ilk came in here, those brutal thug types. Well, they don't usually drink around here, but they came storming in like they were on top of the world, flashing the cash and ordering all the top shelf stuff that's way too good for the likes of them. Had to kick them out eventually, they were causing such a ruckus.
Bill hooks?
Yeah, you know them? Surely you do, they're always causing trouble.
I know of them, you know. Me and Marla go way back.
Oh, Marlo. Yeah, he was one of them that came in. You know, when I told him to leave, he said, "Do you know who the fuck I am, Missy?" And I said, surely do fuck not.
Yeah, that sounds like him. We go way back in a not very positive way.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it, Bootleg. If you were friends with him, I think you and I wouldn't be friends much longer.
Don't worry, I keep a good company these days.
Good, glad to hear it.
They weren't bragging about any kind of job or anything? Just spinning?
They said they got some money coming in. And I heard them say, "Cheers to Lord Strangford." Now, you know he owns a couple of them factories down there, so...
Yeah, that's the issue, is the factories these days. Think that someone's trying to stop the strike.
You don't say. You know, I hope them strikers figure it out. I never heard of anything like that actually working, but if they did it, that'd be just amazing.
Yeah, less money for those rich fucks means more money for the rest of us.
Yeah, well, I'll believe it when I see it, but hope springs eternal.
Well, give me a drink to hope, then.
She pours you some of the absolute worst whiskey they offer.
As bad as I remember. Thank you, Clara.
So yeah, Clyra doesn't know of any people who would be factory machinists making more money, but she has heard that this very dangerous gang that you have a little bit of experience with, known as the Bill Hooks, have seemed to be coming into some money, and it seems to be coming out of the Coalridge region. So the Bill Hooks are fists or knives or guns for hire. Mostly if someone hires that gang, it's because they want violence to be done. So it would be a little bit odd to be paying them to staff a factory. But it does seem that somebody in that region is paying them for something. And that is what you have got. So now we have Kirsten of the Vale. Is there anything you would like to do to either gather information or prepare for the score?
I think Kirsten maybe will run with Bootleg's idea of staking the joint.
Okay.
So Kirsten has adopted this persona since she's been in Duskfall. She is just a lady in mourning, nothing to see here. I think she might maybe head down towards the factory that the strike was taking place with a little begging bowl, perhaps even. Really ham it up and spend a certain amount of time just sort of sat on steps, you know, as if asking for the odd coin, and then wandering from place to place, but between those wanderings disappear into the shadows. And she wants to watch back doors. She particularly would like to see maybe the sort of closing times when Master Slane may come and go, and see if he speaks with anyone in particular, but just who's coming in and out, or if anyone.
Okay. So I think that sounds like a survey. You are kind of surveying the factory to see what happens.
That is a shame.
If you're always welcome to make an argument for another skill if you had something else in mind.
I think you're right. I was looking at prowl more in this sort of like I want to stay hidden and observe, stay in the shadows. But I will accept it as I am looking.
Yeah, I think for this one it's a survey. I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. But it's less about not being detected and more about what you see.
That is unfortunately a 2 then.
A 2. Okay, so with 2 you get some limited information. So I think what you see is very little of interest. As Belle intimated, the factory is chained up at the gates. There is a side entrance, and every 8 hours or so, you see somebody go in. 10 minutes later, somebody goes out. So it appears that there is a staff member who's kind of swapping shifts and going in and out. You do also at night see a group of people arrive, which you take from their general bearing and the way that they arrive all at once as night falls, that they might be guards, security of some sort for the factory. Unfortunately, because you're trying to stay hidden and not be obvious and look like just a beggar woman, you can't really get a good idea of how many they are or how well armed they are, just that there's some kind of security on the factory when there's not people around.
Okay, all right.
So that is our information gathering, unless anyone has any extra things they'd like to do. I'll give you a chance if you're like, oh, I'd love to try that before we go into the score.
I wouldn't mind doing one thing if it's allowed.
What would you like to do?
Well, I just thought, as I'm spending a lot of time around this building, I wouldn't mind attuning slightly to the local atmosphere to see whether there's an excess or of spirit activity in this region.
Okay, yeah. All right. So you're attuning and you're just trying to get a vibe for, is there a lot of spirit activity?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go for it. That seems like a thing you could reasonably do while you're there.
So 2 dots, 2 dice.
2 dice, take the highest result.
That is a 6.
Beautiful. Okay, so you are very talented with the occult. And so this is not necessarily something difficult for you to look into the ghost field. In the world of Duskfall, the barrier between the living and the dead is very thin, and those who are talented can look into that ghost field where spirits, echoes of things long gone, are visible. And looking at the factory, it kind of hurts. There is a lot of energy coming from the factory.
Okay.
There is definitely something spooky and spirity and occult going on inside of that factory. With a 6, I'll tell you that it's something unusual. When you see a spirit, they're usually vaguely humanoid. They tend to lose detail the more old the spirit is. As they start to lose their memories of who they were, they become more vague in shape. But they're usually roughly humanoid. But the shapes you're seeing are kind of just all stacked on top of each other, and they look wrong and odd. But a similar kind of energy to what a spirit would be.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you.
All right. General or bootleg, do you want to do anything else?
I think at some point, after having polished his collection of weapons to their maximum, General Arlo will walk throughout their little base and realize that his mother is gone and panic a little bit because she didn't tell him that she was going to leave. And then I think he just kind of sits on a staircase and starts nervously smoking a cigar. But that's just for flavor. He's not doing anything to prepare for this mission otherwise.
Incredible. I love it. I love that this decorated war, I don't know if he is decorated, but this war veteran is so lost without his darling mummy. I won't make you roll for that. That's just fantastic. Does Bootleg, do you have anything else, or has Bootleg got what he needs?
I I have some vague ideas, but I'm not sure if they'd be for the actual mission themselves.
Okay.
Essentially, I want to set up a disguise, because I have like disguise kits and everything in my equipment, and I know that you don't bring equipment in.
Mm-hmm.
But to I don't know, find someone in the, oh god, what are they called? They're not the bootlickers, they're not the
The bill hook.
The bill
the
hook.
bell hooks.
Yeah. Bootlickers.
I mean, I'm not saying they're the bootlickers, but
Definitely what he calls them.
the bill hooks, to try and remember if there's anyone in the gang that, like, I guess looks enough like me that I could disguise myself as them.
Mm.
And then,
Okay.
yeah. But if that's in the mission, then I have maybe an idea of something to do other than that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you'd need to roll for that.
Okay.
I think that we'll get on to sort of how your items work in the score, but I think because of the fact that you know the bill hooks from your past and that you are the sort of master of disguise, I think you would be able to just say you have a disguise without having to roll for it ahead of time, if
Okay.
and when that comes up.
Perfecto.
Amazing. Was there something else you wanted to ask about?
Well, it was just like, if it was a specific person I had in mind, I might try and like take them out of the picture for the foreseeable future.
Okay, so
that when I use my disguise, there's no like, well, you were just in the bathroom. Where did you come? Why are you back here? You know?
interesting. Okay, so I think this, because it would only be needed in a very specific circumstance, there is a mechanic in Blades in the Dark called the flashback. Any player can invoke a flashback whenever they like.
Yes.
And if you picture like a heist movie, when it suddenly flashes back to when they're all sat around the planning table and they go, also we have this, and it flashes forward and they just have
I
it with
shoved
them.
that guy in a locker, so he will come
Exactly.
and spoil the surprise.
Yeah, so I think if
Okay,
it comes
perfect.
up during the mission that you're like, oh, I want to have taken that guy out and like Hitman style put him in a random chest freezer.
Yeah,
We can
and his
say
little
you-
undies.
Yeah, exactly. He stole his outfit and took off the hot dog shoes. So yeah, I think we could say you do that as a flashback if it comes up, because it's very specific. So yeah, that is our gathering information phase all done. The way that Blades works is, as I have alluded to with what we've just been chatting about, we don't make a very, very detailed plan of exactly what you're going to do. We have a vague idea, we jump into it, and then if you think of things like, oh, I want to have that item with me, you can look at your list of items and just say you have that. If you think, oh, I wish I'd done that beforehand, you can just say you've done that. And if it's a very complicated thing, it might cost you stress. If it's a simple thing, I might just say, yeah, you can have done that. So all we're going to do is come up with the vague idea of what we're going to do. So I guess the first question is, are you going to try and get inside the factory? I think yes, based on what you've been saying. There's nods, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, there's a few different ways you could try and do that. It could be you're going to try and sneak in. It could be that you're going to try and like just, I'm not saying I'd recommend this, but you could just try going up to the front doors and beating your way in with sheer force of will. Yeah, that's what the general wants to do. Incredible. You could try and talk your way in. I'd love to hear the characters like have a little bit of a think about what their idea for how to get into the factory is.
I mean, we know our fair general here just wants to knock down the door and barge his way in.
Well, because it's the easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the easiest way if they actually let us in. What if the staff there don't want us? But also, we should probably go in when we think it's empty, right?
That
Well,
makes
that's-
sense, yeah.
That may be more difficult than you might assume.
Why is that, Mama? Did you... What? Last night, when you were gone, did you go to that factory all by yourself?
Kirsten takes like a bag. She's been shopping. And she'll pass like a really large meal to Arlo. Need to eat, keep your strength up, and then a much smaller sort of bit of food to bootleg, and you need to stay sharp.
Yeah.
I may have passed by on the way to pick you up some food, my darling. But I did notice a lot of guards, it would seem, go in there at night.
Well, you know, Mama, that I don't like you going out all by yourself because it's dangerous, but that plate does look very tasty. And he starts eating it, like, devouring. And then he eyes the plate of bootleg.
Bootleg just slides it over. Here you go, baby.
Thanks.
Okay, so guards all times of the night. It's likely on the cover of dark that they're doing any of this shit. We want in. Well, I mean, what kind of did you see the guards letting anybody in?
Very few people come or go. During the daytime, maybe the odd employee here and there.
Okay, so two options I'm thinking of is we go in during the day when maybe they're less on guard for doing illegal shenanigans, and we pretend like we're supposed to be there, and then we hide away until nighttime until all the legal shit happens. Or we wait till nighttime and figure out who is supposed to be in there doing the illegal shit, and we pretend we're them. And I have a bit of an idea who it could be. You guys ever hear of the bill hooks?
The bill hooks? No. Who's that?
Well, they're just kind of a shit for brains gang. You know, they're more about, the results are, let's say, a little bloody compared to what we do. They've been making a lot of money recently, but there are no steel workers, so I don't know exactly what's going on with them.
Could these bill hooks be these hired help, these guards?
If they are, that makes things a little simpler, because like I said, they're shit for brains. We'll probably get in easy. We can pretend we're here for the job, and they'll probably let us in.
Yes, I think it might work. Although I feel there is something else I should make you aware of. There is
Another pie?
No, there is an unprecedented amount of spirit activity in that building. Strange. Not ghosts like I have seen before.
They're not usual for factories like this. I mean, workers' deaths aren't exactly uncommon.
But these spirits didn't resemble those of past factory workers. I couldn't rightfully tell you what they did resemble.
Shit. Maybe they got the spirits doing steel working.
It did cross my mind.
Can they do that, ghosts?
Well, they can be compelled to do things, but on a scale like that, that's rather frightening thought.
Well, that actually does change things, because I don't think we can impersonate ghosts that well.
And we also can't punch them.
I believe 100% you can, General.
Oh. That's actually quite nice that you say that.
Yeah, you just gotta trust in that big old heart of yours and just punch away, and I believe you'll get results.
Who are you? Are you still bootleg? That's the
Yeah.
nicest thing you've ever said to me. Actually, I think maybe that's the first nice thing you've ever said to me.
Well, I'm a guy who likes to say things that people want to hear.
At that point, I think I lean over to my mama and I try to whisper, but obviously bootleg can still hear it. Mama, I think he's trying to scam us again.
They kiss and just puts a comforting hand on your shoulder and doesn't say anything.
Incredible. So it sounds like you're considering trying to deceive your way in. Is that the vibe we're going with?
I think so.
How about certainly if Bootleg does, then maybe you could find a way to let us in once you're in there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to try and get Bootleg to sneak in and then find a way to let you two in. I'm in love with the fact you're immediately splitting the party. This is what the people want. So that is it. We have our basic idea of the plan. So now it's time. It's time to begin. All you need to decide is on your character sheet above your list of items, there should be a bit that says load, light, normal, or heavy. All this tells you is how many items you're allowed to have with you during this score. If you go for heavy, you can carry 6 things, but you look like somebody who is carrying a lot of equipment for illegal activities. If you go for light, you might be better at sneaking around, but the trade-off is that you have fewer things at your disposal. You can only have 3 things. And normal, 5, and you look kind of just like the person who's carrying some stuff, it's probably fine. So if you all want to pick which you're going to go for, but you don't have to choose your items yet, so you can decide what they are during play.
Well, you just know that General Alu is gonna go for heavy, right?
Love it.
And by the same token, Yeston is going to go for light.
All right.
And just in the middle, I'm gonna go for normal since I'm trying to act like a person who's doing maybe illegal things. So I feel like if I'm loaded up on stuff, that isn't too bad for this specific situation.
Fantastic. Okay, so now what we do is, before we enter the score, we have an engagement roll. So this is a simple roll which just tells me what kind of position you're in at the start of the action when we jump into the score. So I have my beautiful book here to reference. We're going to decide how many dice this roll has. It uses d6 as the same as everything in Blades of the Dark. So we start off with 1 for luck. Then we have the question, is this operation particularly bold or daring? I don't think so. Is it overly complex or contingent on many factors? Also, I don't think so. So that would have added or taken 1 away, respectively. Does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weakest? I actually think kind of yes, because you sort of have found some good information about who might be there, and the fact that you've got an excellent manipulator and deceiver on your side, I think is exploiting that vulnerability, so I'm going to give you 1 for that. Is the target strongest against this approach, or do they have particular defenses or special preparations? So they do have guards, but they're not particularly looking for someone to try and deceive their way in, so I'm going to say that's a no. Have any of your friends or contacts provided aid or insight? Yes, because Clara helped. Are any enemies or rivals interfering in the operation?
Oh no.
And
Nope,
away the die goes
see.
again. Any other elements? No, I don't think so. So we've got 2 dice for your engagement roll, and
Yippee.
I will take the highest. A 4. Okay, that's decent. So in Blades, a 1 to 3 is bad news, a 6 is hooray, and a 4 or 5 is it could be worse. You're in a risky position when we enter the action.
For the who and hooray.
Just 2, no ray. So we've done our engagement roll. When we head into our score, we are going to be going for a risky position, but I'm not going to tell you exactly what that is just yet. We are going to have a quick little break, have a stretch, have some water, have a think about just what might face you in that factory, and we'll see you very soon. Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to this game of Blades in the Dark. I am Michelle. I am joined by the beautiful, the wonderful, the fantastic Sakaya, Cash, and Gask. In part 1, we have been asked to infiltrate a factory which is somehow manufacturing things despite the whole staff being on strike for a month. We're going to try and figure out what's going on and see if we can put a stop to it. Now, we have just rolled our engagement roll before the break, and we have decided we're going to start in a risky position as the three of you approach this huge, imposing factory building in the dark of night, when even the electroplasmic lamp posts have started to dim to create darkness for people to sleep in. There's not really anyone around on the street. Kirsten of the Vale, you know from your stakeout that it will be not too long before that group of security guards arrives to start their shift. And Bootleg, you have opted to try and deceive your way into the factory so that you can let your two comrades in when the coast is clear. So tell us about what you do.
I mean, I think I'll go with the plan I was concocting before, where I disguise myself as one of these, God, it's coming up, bootlickers again.
I like the idea that that's what Bootleg calls them.
Bill hooks, yeah.
Bill hooks, yeah. So you're going to disguise yourself as one of the bill hooks.
Yeah. Question though, do the bill hooks have any like basis of like any uniform, or do they have any like place of origin, I guess?
That's a great question. Well, Bootleg, you used to run with the bill hooks, didn't you? So, what did they wear usually?
I feel like they're the kind of gang that get matching tattoos.
They have really clean boots, we know that.
Really clean boots. Do they do the tattoos on each other? Is that like the initiation ritual?
Yeah, I think it's like a stick and poke, and it's like a hook. It's like a fishing hook almost.
Yes. Their layer is actually a butcher's, so maybe it's like a meat hook.
Yes, perfect then. Yeah, I think something like that, and I don't know if they do have any bases, but I just I'm like, do I walk up and speak cowboy as this other person, and does that work?
Well, I can't tell you whether it'll work, but the dice certainly will.
Yeah, okay.
So do you actually have one of these meat hook tattoos? Were you with the gang long enough to get one?
I think it would be interesting if I did.
Okay.
Like to have a tattoo that he's like, I absolutely want to get a cover up on this, but haven't found the time. It's like a drunken mistake to him, but except he wasn't drunk, and it was over many months.
We've all had those kinds of drunken mistakes.
Yeah. I think it's just an upper arm tattoo that he easily covers with like sleeves and things like that. So I think that's just like a basic placement of it, and so he'll have like rolled up sleeves in his disguise to show off like, hey, because I feel like that's something that the gang would do, is like be very showy with like, especially if they're on job, with like what they're doing, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is what you see as a gang of it's probably about 6 of them that you see walking up now. You don't know if that's all of them, but that's how many there are right now approaching. And they do all have their sleeves rolled up. Some of them are carrying weapons. One of them is actually carrying a meat hook. And they're kind of laughing and being noisy and being very confident that no one's going to challenge them. They own the place. And they are walking down the street towards, not directly towards, but in the direction of the factory, near to pass where you three are waiting and hiding. So Bootleg, what do you do?
I mean, I think the first thing we're gonna do is bust out. Well, I guess, do any of them look my size or stature?
Oh.
Do I get the disguise off one of them now?
You could. So yeah, would you like to try and flash back and say you've already got rid of someone, or do you want to see if you can get someone out of the picture right now?
I think maybe flashback is the best bet here if they're in a group. I don't think I can take them all.
I think that's wise, yeah. I think that there's I think we can say that when you were talking to Clyra, she actually, a little bit of that conversation that we didn't see before was when she was laughing with you about being friends with Marlowe and how she wouldn't want to be your friend anymore. She added, you know, I nearly thought you were friends with them because they had this little Billy or Timmy or Jimmy guy with him that looked the spitting image of you. Red hair, short, I mean, shortish, similar to you in many ways.
Yeah.
Really stylish hat. So yeah, I did think it could be you. I don't think it was Severosi, but he had the look of you.
I mean, I'm average height, so I don't think it would make that much.
Right? Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
think he was wearing some shoes that made him look short. But
Yeah,
looked
you
a
know
lot
how it is.
looked a lot like you in many ways. Not that much like you, but it
It
took me a minute.
does.
It did take me a minute. Yeah.
A minute, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, she says that there is one who looks a little bit like you, and I think she even remembered where he said he usually drinks because he insulted the Mustang and said it's nowhere as good as his favorite bar. So you know where to find this guy.
Okay.
Tell me how So I think this probably will cost some stress, but to say how much stress it's going to cost, I want you to tell me how you get him out of the picture.
I think I go up, buy him a drink, and like try and seclude him as much as possible, and just like seem like a stranger at first, because this is probably a member that I don't know, since I had to be told by Clyra, and then almost like show off my tattoo as like a secret signal, and then like point to an alleyway and was like, got an extra job, and then trans powder or something. shove him in a trash can.
Okay, amazing. All right. So did you do this like this evening before you came to the factory job?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, love that. I think that's gonna be. I'm just gonna ask for one stress actually, because I think it makes sense that you would do this. You talked about doing it already. So one stress to have done that, and the hat he's wearing is not your lovely cowboy Stetson. It's a fedora. So you know, it's up to you whether you want to take that hat.
Things I do for success.
Don't
Don't worry, little lady. I'll see you again soon.
Fantastic. So you have trance powders. Let's say he's Billy, and you have taken his hat and left him in a trash can. Fantastic. So
What did Billy sound like when I was talking to him?
Poor Billy Billhook.
Billy Billhook. Well, what did he sound like? He was like, "Oh, an extra job. Oh, I could use an extra job." He sounds like he smokes 40 a day.
Okay. Easy enough.
I just made a decision that's going to ruin your vocal cords and not
No,
mine.
it's
Sorry about
good.
that. And yeah, that is what you have done. We're going to flash forward again. And yeah, there's the 6 of them walking.
Hey guys, wait up! Hey guys, wait up!
And I think that one of them turns around and is like, "Billy, fuck it. You are always late, man. You're not gonna make it in this gang if you can't show up on time. Come on."
I mean, you gotta get a good drink before a job, right? That's what they say. Yeah.
I love it. And as you go towards them so they can see you better, roll me a sway, please.
And then an extra 1d because I have the skill Cloak and Dagger. When you use a disguise or other form of covert misdirection, you get plus 1d to rolls.
Fantastic. So this is a risky position, and yeah, I think it's going to be standard effect. I think because you've well, no, I'm going to give you greater effect because you've done a lot of setup for this. So yeah, risky, greater effect, and you've got plus 1d.
That is a 6.
A 6.
Two 6s. Does that count?
2 6s. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you roll more than 1 6, that is a critical. So not only do you succeed, but something good happens.
Something good happens in this game.
Something good happens. Don't get used to it. This is good. It's going to be a very
The fedora
short session.
flies off his head.
Oh, look at that.
They say, take off that damn hat, Billy, and one of them takes it off and throws it away.
You don't think it makes me look cool? What would make me look cool? Like, a Western? Would that be good?
No, what? No, stop with the hats. They make their way in, and they're so busy joshing you and bullying you, Bootleg, that they kind of get carried away. They're enjoying picking on you, and when they get to the side door, one of them says, actually, Billy, I think boss said you're on door duty tonight. Yeah, I think you have to stay here alone on door duty tonight because of, they wanted to make sure that the most fashionable one of us was visible to the street. Yeah. So you're gonna be on door duty.
By myself?
Yeah, all by yourself. Yeah.
Oh, come on, that's the most boring job.
Oh, you'll be alright. Don't you have, like, a book of puzzles or some nerd shit?
I'm basically illiterate.
Yeah, me too. And they make their way in and leave you there by the side door to the factory. That is the extra good thing that happened as a result of your crit.
Genius.
And so, you've witnessed this from the shadows, General, and Kirsten, are you using your alias now that you're on the job?
Yeah, I think, in terms of communication, we probably, maybe we all switched aliases here just to protect identity.
All right, so we've got General and Harpy. Looks like the way is clear. What are you going to do?
I think we've been watching Bootleg from a shadowy doorway, and I've had Arlo's hands in my hands, and you have to have a little bit more faith and trust in Bootleg. He's not going to scam you. If he tried, you're far too savvy to be taken in by that. There's a slight pause, and then for a second time.
He goes, all right, Mother, I trust you. And then he sees that the fedora is blown off of Bootleg's head, and then he goes, you're right, I should trust him. Maybe I should get that hat back for him to offer my goodwill. And then he walks over through the darkness and picks up the fedora again in order to give it back to Bootleg. And then I think I will grab my mother and wait until we see a sign to join Bootleg again.
I think Bootleg definitely listens in and waits till everyone seems to be more dispersed on the inside. And when he's at least a bit confident the coast is clear, then he'll look around and maybe do a pre-planned whistle. I can't whistle normally. I can't do one of those bird calls. I don't know why I was lifting up my hands.
You're just so into the roleplay.
Hoo-hoo! Hoo-hoo!
I can't, but Billy Billhook can.
That was the sign, Mother. We should head around the corner.
Lead the way.
All right. And then I head towards where I heard that beautiful bird call. And as I see Bootleg, I'll gesture the fedora towards him and go, "You lost this. I got it back for you."
Itself. That was fate and destiny. And that was the kindest thing that's happened to me in my life.
Huh. So you don't want it back? But it looked so cool.
I just think it didn't fit my head shape. Maybe you should try it on.
Is he scamming me again, Mother? It does look cool. And I put on the fedora and walk towards Bootleg.
Incredible. So, the three of you get your way into this side door, and you find yourself kind of just in a corridor with a lot of corridors snaking off of it. This isn't the main entrance, this is some kind of service entrance. So it's not entirely clear where you should go. So none of you have been inside this factory before. You don't know the layout, so how do you approach figuring out where you should go?
Well, Miss Harpy, was there any concentration of ghosts near specific areas that you could maybe sense. That'd help us out now.
Do I have a retroactive answer for that, Michelle, or would you like me to tune again?
I think that because of your gather info, you kind of just got the sense that it was in the factory. I don't think you would have enough detail. I think you would have to do something again to get more info on that.
Okay. What's the layout like here? We are literally just sort of in a corridor.
You're in a sort of a corridor. You know, you've come through that service entrance, you've gone up through a corridor, and then there's various doors and routes to go, but no clear signage of which one's the one you're meant to be going towards.
Okay. Okay. Yep. At that, I will maybe try and attune again, then see if I can find at least a direction where this concentration might be.
Okay, I think that because of Bootleg's excellent crit and the fact that there's no one around right now, you're in a controlled position. Standard effect. So let's see that attune.
That's another. I take the highest one. It's another 6.
Amazing! This is
6 and a
going.
1. That was.
This is well. Okay, this is going well. Okay, so you attune to the ghost field. What does it look like when Harper attunes to the ghost field? Is there any outward indication that's happening?
Maybe not that anyone could see. I think perhaps her eyes sort of roll back. It's not like her eyes go white, but they sort of roll back into her head, so there's the whites of her eyes shining, and then she gets a sort of like a second sight. So she can see through walls and that, but not really seeing through walls, but she'll get the sort of the effect, the image of these spirits will come through.
And does it have a feeling associated with it when she sees these things?
I think it's not a very comfortable thing for her to do. She's used to it and she does it, but it evokes a lot of things from the past, and she gets a burning sensation. All of her arms and her legs, her whole body kind of tingles slightly with a sort of a prickly heat.
Okay, so you feel that prickling, that unpleasant heat flowing through you as you look around, and with a 6, you can see very clearly that there's a concentration of this spiritual energy in a certain direction. You see a kind of large corridor that, you know, it makes sense that maybe if this is a delivery exit, that maybe this large corridor is where they bring things from the factory floor. And if you head that direction, that will be going towards the spiritual energy. So yeah, that is with a 6, you know exactly where you're going to go if you are trying to get to the factory floor. You know it's in that direction. I think that you kind of, with a 6, you get the feeling that there's not really any spirit energy anywhere else. It seems to all be concentrated in one place, which seems to be the factory floor itself.
I think Kirsten places a hand on Arlo's shoulder and sort of stumbles slightly forward as she comes out of the trance-like state, I guess. Shudders slightly, takes a moment, and then sort of points a shaking finger in that direction. The factory floor.
Knows that he understands, I think, immediately, and he'll kind of stabilize you and then mumble a little like, "Are you alright, mother?" And then as you point, he will nod towards Bootleg and start walking and kind of holding on to your arm at the same time to stabilize you while you walk.
Yeah, I think Kirsten is comfortably passive in these moments, just post that, so yeah.
And I will say that Arlo also, or the general also, readies his weapon at this point in order to be able to defend themselves.
Okay. Do you know what weapon he has?
Yeah, he actually brought 2 pistols, one on each side of his pants, tucked into his belt. And now at this point he will have one that he is ready to grab and shoot at any point.
Okay, brilliant. And for the benefit of our audience, on Blades in the Dark's equipment list, they are separate as a pistol and a second pistol. So love that you've gone straight in with both. So yeah, you're going to make your way down towards this factory. And as you get closer to a very kind of large metal double door, you can hear the sounds of banging and clanking and whirring and machinery running, even though it's the night and there aren't supposed to be any staff operating the machines in this factory. you can hear them. They're going. And you can hear the odd shout over the racket. You can't make out what's being said because it is just so impossibly loud, even on the other side of the door. But clearly there are people. And we know that there are security guards, so we know there are people somewhere. And it sounds like at least some of them are on the other side of this door.
I think Kirsten maybe flashes a quick look towards Bootleg with a short nod, and almost just like, I think maybe there was some truth in what we assumed. These spirits could be actually doing the work.
Well, that's that'll cause a different kind of revolution, I think. Industrial revolution. You can get ghosts to do your work. I feel like that'd blow up pretty quickly.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Still, we know there are people in here and we have to be careful. Is there any other ways around us, or is it just leading to these metal doors?
You could look to see if there's another way. I think you could study, which would be like really closely having a look around you, investigating, or you could survey, which would be just taking in like kind of a broad sense. I think either would make sense to try and figure out if there's another way to get into this factory area.
I think a survey would be good. I'm just looking for maybe like stairs leading up to a catwalk that would be more secluded, something like that. Like something that's not like the main doors, it seems.
Okay, yeah. Roll me a survey then. I think that now that you're closer to where the rest of the guards are, you're back in a risky position for this one. A 1?
That's a 1, yeah.
Okay, so with a 1, you do not do it. And
I don't?
shockingly, you do not succeed on a 1. And but something else happens. So I think that you're all kind of standing while Bootleg is kind of just peering down, trying to decide where to go to start looking. When the doors, the big double doors in front of you, swing open, and one of those billhooks that was in the group that entered earlier steps out, laughing over his shoulder as he was shouting something, and then turns and sees the three of you.
Hit him.
Oh.
I was going to say, at this point, I think Arlo's just going to knock him on the head with the butt of his weapon.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Boothill's in the process, or not, Bootleg's in the process of saying, I've detained these.
Okay. Fantastic. Cash, please roll me a skirmish. Or I think you could argue it's a prowl for a sneak attack, whichever.
I'm going to go with skirmish because I have 2 dots in that.
That makes sense.
I rolled 2 3s.
Can I aid with a prowl?
Unfortunately, not after the roll has happened, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that you're still a little bit out of it from your retuning, and you do not have time to help. General is in there with the butt of the gun and misses entirely, which gives this gang member, this security guard, the opportunity to just punch you real hard in the face, General. You're going to take a level 1 harm, black eye. So you should have 2 boxes on your sheet that are marked 1. So if you fill one of those in with your black eye, and because of that, you're going to have less effect on things which require you to be able to see well because your eye is swollen shut.
That makes sense.
Go ahead.
Can you use armor retroactively for stuff like this?
You can. So if you don't want to take this black eye, you could mark armor on your sheet, and that kind of negates the harm, or it brings it down 1 level. But because you're on level 1, that would say it doesn't happen. So that's one thing you could do. That would be using up some of your load to mark armor.
I will say that the general probably did not put on any armor because he really wanted the space for his second pistol and also for his demolition tools. So
Okay.
he just went in full brawl without any protection, and he takes this black eye like a champion.
Amazing. I'll mention
Another
Or
retreat.
doesn't count as armor.
I love that. Even if you don't want to use it right now, I will mention the other option if you don't like a consequence, and it's not just harm, any consequence, is you can roll to resist. So for this, because it's a physical consequence, I would say roll prowess, and
Mhm.
you would look at the prowess section and you'd read down the way, those 4 dots down the way, and see how many of those are filled in, and that would tell
Yeah.
you how many dice you have to resist.
All right, that would also be 2 dots.
So you can do that if you want. What happens is you will take stress. 6 minus your result is how many stress you will take to resist this.
Mhm.
So would you like to do that? Would you like to try and resist the consequence?
I would like to resist. I'll try.
Okay, so which skills do you have? You have skirmish and
I have
something-
skirmish and wreck, so that if
Okay.
I read it down, it's 2 dots.
Then you have 2 dots to resist. Yeah. So
Mhm.
roll me 2d6 and take the
Mhm.
highest.
That's a 3 again.
A 3. Okay, it's going to cost you 3 stress then.
All right.
But how do you avoid this black eye? Do you dodge or what do you do?
I think I do a little step backward, or backwards as I see him kind of preparing himself for the punch, and duck my head a little bit away, and then maybe just wait for an in order to kind of give my second blow.
Okay, so Bootleg and Harpy, you have just watched General attempt to thwack this gentleman and nearly get a good thwack back. And as they dodge backwards out the way, there's an opening if either of you want to try and do something about this this guard before he raises the alarm.
Are the door can anyone else see what's happening right now, or is it just?
I think right now he's just opened it enough that he could walk out. So you've got a little bit of time before anyone notices what's happening.
Okay. My current idea was to play up a ruse, but I don't know how that's gonna go now.
Please, I would love to hear how that ruse would go.
Okay. Well, Bootleg, still disguised, pulls out his own pistol and points it at the general, and it goes like, put down your weapons or I'll shoot. Sorry, I tried to detain them, I swear.
Fantastic. Okay, so you're going to point this gun at the general. That's going to be a sway roll. Before you roll it, this seems like a good opportunity to mention that you can help each other in this game. You can assist a teammate, which means you spend 1 stress to give them an extra die.
Can I do that by kind of begrudgingly raising my hands and dropping my weapon?
Absolutely, you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Then
you're going
I'll-
to try and make this more convincing, so you can have an extra die to your sway roll.
And I mark
Okay.
1 stress.
One stress for you. That's right. Yeah.
So I get 2 normally. I get 1 from General's help, and then 1 from my skill with disguise, so that's 4.
Let me double check your disguise skill, or do you have it there? Can you read it out?
Yeah, it says Cloak and Dagger. When you use a disguise or other form of covert misdirection, you get plus 1d to rolls to
Okay.
confuse or deflect suspicion.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say you can use that here again.
Yippee!
You've got a lot of dice.
I got a lot of dice. Watch
you're in
them
a
all
risky
be good. Okay. Okay, no, we got a 6 in there.
We
It
got
was
a
close,
6.
but we got a 6.
Okay, amazing. So you succeed without a consequence. So I think that you say that line about you trying to detain them, and the guy looks and is like, "Oh, it's you, Billy. You're supposed to be on door duty. You just let them in."
I didn't know what to do with them. Do I just send them back out into the street? They were trying to get in.
You kill them.
Do you see how big this guy is?
He sort of looks over and is like, "Not that big. I could probably be that big." And then he sort of realizes that no one's pointing a gun at Kirsten of the Vale, so he will now point his gun at Harpy, and he will bark at the 2 of you. What are you doing here?
Can I ask a quick question, Michelle?
Yes.
Compel. You can attune
Mhm.
to the ghost field to force a nearby spirit to appear and obey a command that you give it, but I'm not quite sure the extent of what spirits can do in terms
Fantastic.
of affecting the physical world.
Ooh. Tell me what you'd like to try and do.
I was thinking almost having one kind of. Well, originally, before it got to this stage, I was going to have one like try and muffle him, like silence him. So, but I'm thinking almost possess him.
You could attempt to compel a ghost to possess this man. I will
Okay.
allow it. You can attune to the ghost field, so you'll need to roll attune to succeed in this.
Yes, and what ways can I add dice to this
So,
game?
some ways that you can add some dice.
Ooh.
You can push
I'll take-
yourself.
I'll take a devil's bargain
Ooh, okay.
because we've not had
So,
one.
we'll do that for sure. So, push yourself would be spending 2 stress to have an
Okay.
extra die. But the other thing you can do is ask for a devil's bargain. So, in Blades in the Dark, a devil's bargain is a choice. I will give you a consequence, which will definitely happen, regardless of how well you roll. And if you decide to take it, then you will have an extra die. But you can say, no, I'm not going to risk that.
Okay.
So, what's a good devil's bargain here? You're going to try and compel a ghost to possess somebody. Okay. So, in Duskfall, there is a faction known as the Spirit Wardens. These are occult specialists. They're very shrouded in mystery. No one knows much about them, except that their role is to prevent feral stray ghosts from attacking the citizenry. When somebody dies, the Spirit Wardens are summoned to destroy the body before a ghost escapes, or capture and destroy the ghost if it does escape. And they are very aware of strange goings on. So if you compel a ghost to attempt to possess somebody in this factory, I'm going to start a clock for the Spirit Wardens being aware that something is going on and making their way towards the factory.
Okay, so that's going to happen whether I pass or fail.
The clock will start whether you
That's
pass or
close.
fail. They won't immediately show up, but I'll
Yeah.
start a clock on my side for them arriving.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start a 6 tick clock for this happening. Spirit Wardens arriving. That's 1 out of 6, and whenever any of you have a roll that has a consequence, the consequence might be that clock ticking up. I will keep
Okay.
you updated. Spirit Wardens arrive.
And do we know, just to
Mhm.
confirm this in my head, do we know how we can stop that clock if the ghost were to stop possessing him, for example? Or
It's pretty difficult to stop a clock once
Yeah,
it's
okay.
started.
That's what I thought.
Roll well. Roll well, or hope I'm feeling
Oh,
nice.
well, here we go.
But yes, so let's see this. Let's roll this attune to see if you manage to compel a ghost.
So the highest dice out of those 3 is a 3.
Oh, a 3.
Sorry,
Ouch.
everyone.
So, okay, here's what happens. You attune to the ghost field. You feel that prickly heat. You feel your eyes roll back, and you reach out into the ghost field to try and pull a spirit towards you. And something very strange happens, which is you start to feel that tug of another spirit somewhere not too far away. But rather than feeling it manifest in front of you, as you usually would, it just doesn't seem to move. And for a moment, as you attune to this spirit, you feel overcome with a sense of agony. You don't feel the pain, but you feel that this spirit is in immeasurable pain, and it cannot come to you. And you feel that, and you are going to take a level 1 harm. Pained, psychic damage, whatever you want to call it. This was really a horrible experience, and you're just going to be a little bit dazed and a little bit less able to concentrate now, having made that connection.
Okay.
And unfortunately, yes, you are not able to compel a spirit in this moment. But that sort of psychic scream in the ghost field has, unbeknownst to you all, ticked off the spirit wardens that something's going down at the factory.
Yeah, so I think he's pointed his gun at me, and she's gone for something which she feels like quite comfortable that she can control, and has been shocked by this very strange and yeah, a very different kind of ghost field that she's used to. So I think she's almost even more staggered by coming out of it than normal, and doesn't respond to him at all. Her eyes sort of come back, but she sort of stumbles, clearly not resisting arrest, but just sort of out of it.
He kind of sees this like stumbling, and is a little bit. Is this? He can't see your face. You're wearing a veil. He's now like, is this an elderly person? What is going on here? So then he's going to turn towards you, General, and say, "You speak. What are you doing here?"
We were looking for jobs. We heard there were jobs here because all the factory workers started striking, and we want to take their work instead.
Okay, I like this. So this is definitely a sway you're going for. You're trying to deceive somebody. Again, you can push yourself, you can take a devil's bargain, you can try and get help from a teammate, or you can just go for it.
Well, I have no dot in sway.
I was gonna say I was gonna try and help, but I have no idea how to help other than yeah, he said he wanted jobs.
That's why I arrested him.
Maybe I can.
That's why I brought him in.
Maybe I can
I
kind
was
of.
gonna take him to the boss.
Maybe I can kind of flex my biceps and be like, I mean, you saw that I was strong. I can help with whatever metal work that you need help with. And I mean, I only took that weapon to get that little guy away from me because he tried to stop me from getting in. And I guess that was kind of his job, right?
Yeah, it was my job.
Okay, this really just theatrical masterpiece that is playing out in front of us. Gask, if you want to mark a stress, I will say that you are helping with this sway roll.
Just the one?
Just the one, yes.
Perfect.
And then General, you can have a one, so you're doing a straight.
Okay, a straight.
One
Okay.
roll.
All right. I rolled a 5.
Hey, all right. So a 5.
Big money.
A 5, you do it, but there's a consequence. So you are going to succeed in this. So I think that he just he's looking at this kind of seemingly frail, veiled person in morning dress, and then looking at you and kind of joining the dots of like, oh, these are some desperate people who are just trying to get a job, and he believes you. But he is in a very dangerous, vicious gang who operate out of a butcher's and don't do any butchering of animals. So he's not exactly a very sympathetic person. So I think what happens is he says, fine, look, there's no work here for you, all right? There's no work here for you. But, I don't know. We can't exactly have anyone else leaving the floor, and we can't trust you to escort them back, so,
Yeah, because that's not my job.
You were supposed to be on door duty.
And I was!
Are you at the door?
No.
Well, this is why no one likes you, Billy. And he turns and he says, you're going to come with me, and we can keep an eye on you. So the consequence is going to be that while all this has been going on, the spirit wardens are getting closer. I'm adding another tick, just one, because you rolled a 5 to that clock. But you are not in immediate danger right now, and you are being escorted into the factory floor, just still with one of the gang members escorting you at the moment. So he kind of pushes the two of you ahead. He still believes that Bootleg is on his side, so he'll kind of let you follow behind Bootleg as you enter into this factory. And if it was noisy before, now that you're inside, it is cacophonous. None of you, I don't think, have a background in any kind of industry in metal work, so none of you really understand what you're looking at, except that it is machinery, it is huge, it is loud, and it is moving, apparently, on its own. On the gang walks over the factory floor, there are a couple more of the billhook guards just kind of standing around. There are a few more standing on the floor itself who kind of look a little bit confused when they see you coming in, but then more just like entertained when they realize it seems to be under control. But they've clocked you. They've seen you're here. And these machines have no one operating them. You've never seen anything like it. At one point, you see one of them, a sort of conveyor belt seems to start staggering. And one of the billhooks looks over at it looking confused and then just kicks it. He just boots it over and over again until it starts moving. It's clear that he doesn't know what he's supposed to do with this thing. And then he heads back over and joins the woman that he was sort of standing on guard with. And they go back to, I'd say chatting, but they're bellowing at each other from a very short distance because it's just that loud. So this is what you see as you enter, escorted by this gang member with Bootleg bringing up the rear. What do you all do?
Can I do a quick survey just to, I guess, gather a quick information about the layout of this area and, like, I guess who's here, like what are the sight lines, stuff like that?
Okay, what can you tell me a bit more about what you're trying to find out?
I guess I'm trying to find out, like, how many people are here who's watching us, and, like, I'm trying to figure out what we can get away with the amount of eyes on us right now.
Okay. I'm trying to think whether you need to roll for that based on what I've already told you. I think you can see the 6 people that you know were here. So there were three up on gangways. There are the 2 that just kind of, one of them just kicked the machine and went back over to her. So there are 2 there at the other end of this factory floor. They're very far away. The people up on the gangways, you saw some of them glance over, but they're not like intently watching you because they've seen that there are you, who they think is with them, and this other guard there. So there are 6 people around who are aware of you, but you're not being actively watched.
Okay, can I maybe then focus my survey on looking for Marlowe or any other kind of leader?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. 1 dot, let's go. Wait, hang on, this dice. You've served me well. I say, as you give me a 2.
A 2. You are sort of casting around trying to see if Marlowe is here. When this other guard, sort of over all the noise, yells, "Billy, we'll take him to the boss."
Can I come?
Yeah, I said we.
Yeah! Okay.
And he is gonna point towards a sort of side door into what looks like a little office. Maybe it's where the chief foreman hangs out. And as he's pointing towards it, the door opens, and you see Marlowe.
Gonna try and hide any facial features.
How are you gonna do that? You're not wearing a hat.
Reaches over, takes the hat off General. Actually, it does look cool.
I think I try and hang back and pretend like I'm bringing up the rear of the prisoners, the detainees, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing behind General in a very, like, hide me way.
Luckily, General is very broad. Okay, so you're just going to kind of hide and sort of hang back as this gang member leads you and sort of, I think, is kind of roughly pushing General, trying to be a big man by the fact that General is definitely bigger than he is, shoving you over towards Marlowe. What does Marlowe look like, Gask? This old friend / rival.
I want to say that they're like the like the quintessential, like, scary gang member, like scars on on their face. Their hook tattoo is like right on their cheek, you know? Like it's taking up their whole face. That's how committed they are to it. And like as big and broad maybe as the general, like just a person who clearly moves through the world in a physically aggressive way, let's just say. And just like an underlying level of anger through them constantly.
Yeah, that is what you all see. But oddly, for such like a big, strong, scary guy, he has a kind of laconic manner, I think. A kind of overly relaxed confidence that he is in complete control of everything. Bootleg, the Billhooks don't have a leader right now, officially, because their leader has just been locked up. But it looks like Marlowe might be vying for that position. They're all calling him boss. And he takes in, he doesn't pay much attention to you, actually, but he takes in Harpy and General. And he says, "What do we have here?" The guard says, they were looking for work. We didn't want to just send them out, but we didn't know what to do. And Marlowe kind of sighs and looks at the two of you. And do you want to do anything in this moment before Marlowe decides what to do with the two of you?
I don't know, Mother. Do we want to do anything at this moment?
Well, I had been mulling something over, but I don't know if it's...
Wait, while you guys think about it, I have a quick question. Do I know the name of the leader that is in jail?
That is a great question, and the answer is probably... the answer is definitely yes, but it's whether I know the name of the leader who is currently in jail. Don't mind me while I flip frantically through the book, because I did not write that down.
Using my confuse roll.
Okay.
You guys, subterfuge, get you guys time to think about your next move.
The leader who is currently serving life in prison is named Tarvel.
Tarvel.
Yes, Tarvul. Tarvel.
Tarvel.
Yes.
You got it.
I'm gonna ask, are we in melee range to this person, this guy, this Marlowe, or...
yes, actually,
okay.
Because if you can hear him, you must be very close to him in this room, so yes.
All right, because I do have a special ability called Not to be Trifled With, which I can use to push myself to do one of the following. Perform a feat of physical force that verges on the superhuman, like, for example, engage a small gang engage a small gang on equal footing in close combat. If this person is similar in build to me, then would it be considered superhuman if I kind of throw myself at him and point my second gun that I didn't drop at his head and try to intimidate the rest of the people working here in the factory?
I absolutely love it. I love that. So your description says you can push yourself to do this, is that right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like you need to roll, but I'm just going to double check what I have here. Because you are a cutter who is a very tough fighter, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, not to be trifled with. When you push yourself, you get the effect. Yeah, okay, yeah, so you're still going to roll, but because you've pushed yourself, you're going to get an extra die to this roll. So I think this could be a few things. It could be command, because you're going to try and take control of everyone by grabbing the leader. It could be skirmish, because you're fighting, or it could even be wreck if you're going to do it in a really like chaotic and dangerous, just that you're just going to like go for it. I will let you pick any of those.
I think I'll go for skirmish, one, because that's my best best ability, and also because I think it makes the most sense for Arlo, because he's just a very physical guy that maybe doesn't think as much about the consequences that might happen afterwards. So
So
I'll
you
think.
can add 2 stress for pushing
Mhm.
yourself and add an extra die to the skirmish roll. So you have 3 dice.
Then I have 3 dice. Okay.
Does anyone want to do anything else to try and help before we roll this?
I think I'm gonna see how this plays out and then run
Away.
yeah.
Away.
Try and fix or take advantage of whatever happens next.
Amazing. What about Mummy Dearest?
I was going to do a move, which I think actually might help now as a distraction.
Okay, let's hear it.
I was playing. I'm being treated like this old woman who's frail and vulnerable, and I was going to kind of lean into that and start like coughing and like gasping for air and asking for a seat, and maybe using that distraction. The general could perhaps, launch him while all eyes are on me.
I think
love that.
Yeah,
If
the general
you want to spend
probably.
1 stress, you could do that
Yep,
to add an extra die.
I will do that.
Yeah, I love that. I think the general definitely picks up on his mother's hint that this is kind of a ruse, and he'll turn his body towards her and pretend that he's trying to pat her on the back and maybe help her cough off. And then in the moment that he senses that maybe the most attention is on her, he'll start sprinting towards Marlowe and try to grapple him and put a gun to his head. Oh my god, I rolled a 4 and 2 3s.
Oh, you should have 4 dice.
4! Okay, let's try my
you
fourth
got an
one.
extra one from your mother's help.
6.
It's another 4.
No!
Well, the 4 is okay, because the 4 is you do succeed.
Okay.
So you are going to sprint, and I think that Marlowe is just like, he's looking at, why is there an old woman here? And before he even has a chance to process what's happening, you have a gun to his head. And I think it's just going to be another tick on the Spirit Warden clock. This is all you have been, unfortunately, forced to waste time wandering around chatting to gang members instead of doing your task. It's now 3 out of 6, so they're halfway to the factory right now. But you have seized some control of this situation. You have a gun to the head of the boss, at least in this area, of the gang. What do you say?
I think at that point I'll yell so that everyone or at least the people closest to us can hear us. I'll yell, "Now listen up, everyone. We've got your little leader, and we want you to clear out of this space. Right now, or he dies."
Okay. I love this. I'm trying to decide if you should have to roll again, but I think you did succeed in this, and this is what you were trying to do. You were trying to intimidate. So I think that what I'm going to do is ask you to do a fortune roll. This is just a luck roll to see if anything goes wrong as a result of this. And because of your crew tier, that determines what a fortune roll is. Let's do that quickly. Actually, I should ask you to do the fortune roll, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to ask you just to roll a 1d, straight up and down.
This
Yes.
one's the one. This one's the one.
We all know I've been doing this really well, so
I believe in you.
it's another 3.
A 3, okay.
No!
Okay. That's not very lucky.
No, it's
I
not.
think what it is,
It's halfway.
I think this works. You have the leader of the gang, with a gun to his head. Unfortunately, no one can hear you. So they sort of hear that there's some yelling vaguely, and they look and they turn and see a big guy with a gun to their boss's head. And they are all gonna come running and yelling and caterwauling and waving. Most of them have melee type weapons, a hook, like what looks like the leg of a chair that someone's broken off, and they're just all running. It is frantic, it is chaotic. And Marlowe is kind of yelling as well, like, no. There's a lot happening here. And I think in this chaos, I am going to ask for a group roll. So what's going to happen is all of you are going to roll. I think it's going to be prowl. You're going to just try and get your way. You're just going to try and get out of this situation, get away from the chaos so they can get out without you getting hurt in the melee. So the how
Wait.
group... Go ahead.
Can I use an item to help with this?
Oh, what would it be?
I mean, I don't know what it would fall under, but maybe some kind of like smoke bomb-ish kind of deal. I think that would that
Ooh.
fall under subterfuge supplies.
Do you have a smoke bomb? Great
Timberlake.
question. Do they?
An
they do-
unusual weapon.
Yeah, I think we'll allow it. Why not? That sounds fun. Yeah, you can have a smoke bomb, sure. That's usually something that a leech character would have, but we don't have a leech in this
Okay.
party, so why not? You have one, it's fun. I like it.
I have trans powder. This one's just my non-trans powder.
Exactly, this is my smoke bomb. So
Yeah.
you're going to drop a smoke bomb. Love it. I'm going to say that that's going to give you increased effect on your roll. So how a group roll works is you're all going to roll prowl. One person has to choose to be the leader of the prowl roll. And if anyone rolls a 3 or lower, then the leader takes stress. But that's how it works basically. So somebody who has stress to spare is usually a good choice to be the leader of the group roll.
I have 2 prowl and stress to spare.
Amazing. So I think that you, Harpy, are maybe going to take the initiative, having pretended to be frail. Now you're going to be like, let's go.
Yep.
So if you all want to roll prowl and tell me what your result was.
A 4.
4?
A 2.
2?
Oh, come on! You gotta do something with those dice.
You know, I changed them for every roll.
They are all cursed. You gotta let them get the bad results out instead of changing them so quick.
A 3.
A 3, okay.
Oh.
So in a group roll, the highest result is the result. So 4 was the result. You're going to take 2 stress, Kirsten, because of the 2 failures in the group. But you rolled a 4. So you managed to avoid, as a group, being hit about the head or stabbed with a meat hook. And General manages to keep the gun trained on Marlowe. Especially thanks to Bootleg pretending to be one of the gang and kind of misdirecting them. And through this, the gang members, they leave. They leave, and Marlowe leaves. But you did roll a 4, which has a consequence. Which is that as Marlowe leaves, he finally gets a good look at Bootleg. And he just curls his lip and he says, Wesley. And then he leaves. And you have the factory floor to yourselves, and a dangerous gang knows who one of you is, but I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure that's
All
fine.
fine. It's all fine.
It's all fine, because now you can get on with the investigation you came here to do. But first, let's have a little break, because that was all very exciting. Let's have another very quick break, so all of our lovely audience can have a little drink of water, reflect
can
on
fix
how
our
well this is
dice.
going.
Going very well.
And it's going so well, and we'll see you all very shortly. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hello again. Welcome to the third and final section of this evening's stream of Blades in the Dark here on EUphoria. While you're here, why not follow EUphoria on Twitch? That's a great idea. Give us a follow. And now, let's launch back in to this very successful mission where nothing has gone wrong, where our 3 Blades in the Dark have infiltrated a factory where the machines seem to be running on their own. They have caused some chaos, leading to the gang who were hired for security leaving them alone in here, at least for the time being, to prevent the general from shooting their leader in the head. And now you have some time, you suspect not that much, on your own in this factory floor. What are you going to do?
Well, it seems like there's some ghost shit going on, and I'm not really an expert on that kind of thing. So I'll leave that to you, Harpy.
Okay. I think what Kirsten will try and do is get as almost against her desire, is get as close to where this sort of mass, it seems, of spirit activity is, and try to attune this time, hopefully a final time, in a way to try and get a sense of what is going on? Is there seems to be some sort of tortured agony, but can she make out anything, any sense from it?
Okay, yeah. So I think attune's fine to use for this. I will say you're in a risky position, even though there's no guards around, just because you've already found that this hurt you once.
Yes.
So it's risky to do it again, but I think attune's a good choice.
Will my concentration problem, my harm one, affect this, or is that more to do with things like studying?
That's a good question. I'm going to say no, because I was thinking of it more in terms of things of studying, reading, and like being quick on your feet, rather than the attuning. Because that's more of the way you described it is a very physical thing you do. It's very like in your heart, in your spirit. So I think let's say the harm doesn't affect it.
And is it too stress to add a dice?
It is. To push yourself is too stress.
I think I might. This is quite important. I feel this might be the crux of what's going on here. So I'm going to do that.
Right.
Which means my stress is quite bad. Oh, that was a 4, a 5, and a 6. That was nearly a crit.
A 6, though.
A 6, yeah.
You did it. Okay. So once again, you enter that state, that uncomfortable state of leaning in towards ghostly presences. But this time you're ready. You've prepared your defenses.
Holding my son.
Something. You're holding your precious boy. Holding him close. And you are able to get a look at what is happening in here. Each of these machines has at least one spirit within it. Not just bound to it, but almost part of it. The machine is the spirit's body is the machine. And no wonder they are in agony, because a human form, a human spirit, should not be bound to a machine. With a 6, you have heard of something called a hull. It is a forbidden occult technology in which a human ghost is forced into the shell of some kind of mechanism. There are rumors that the metal horses that pull the spirit warden's carriages are actually hulls. But if that's true, nobody knows. And you certainly don't know anything about how to make one. But it's pretty clear that somebody does. Because every machine on this floor that is moving on its own is a hull. And there are human spirits being forced to operate the machines in perpetuity.
I think this is going to really affect Kirsten. She'll almost give out kind of a scream, like a stifled scream, and fall to her knees, hands on the floor, like panting, gasping, maybe just muttering their hulls.
So I take it it's not good news.
She'll grasp Arlo to lift herself back up. I don't know what can be done. There are human spirits trapped within these machines, tortured.
If we destroy the machine, do they go free?
I presume I only know a possibly to that, Michelle?
You don't know for sure.
Yeah. It can't harm them anymore. It can't hurt them any more than what they're suffering. So possibly. I have no answers.
You don't need to have answers, Mama. I think we did what we were able to do. We found out what is going on in this factory, and maybe we should take the moment before that stupid gang of billhooks comes back in order to kind of gather our strengths and bring message to, what was her name? Belle, of what we found. I mean, when I look at you, Mama, I don't want you to suffer anymore. This is horrible. Ever since we got to this cursed place, I don't want to see you like this.
Kirsten's in a strange place because she doesn't want to see the spirits suffer in this manner. She also she doesn't really want to destroy the machinery because that destroys the livelihood of the workers who are currently on strike. So she is aware that this is illegal. So maybe this is the strongest position at the moment, than to have knowledge that this is going on and have Master Slane brought to task that way.
All right. So, you have discovered how these machines are working. You are thinking about withdrawing. You know that the billhooks aren't far away, and that the spirit wardens aren't too far away. Well, you don't know that the spirit wardens aren't too far away, but you guys know the spirit wardens aren't too far away. What all do your characters decide to do in this moment? Do you leave, or do you do anything else before you get out of there?
I would like to see if I can find any of the metal works that are being produced by these machines, and maybe I don't know if I should just take some, because I don't really know what to do with it. Because I remember that Belle told us if we're able to, we should stop production.
Mhm.
Is there any way in which, like, we could quickly maybe tinker with the works already produced in order to kind of make them not function well?
What about aiming for the assembly line and not the machines that are on,
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
so that they just kind of fall to the wayside? If the machines are just kind of doing their thing, if nothing comes across their path, then
I think that's a really good idea, because I was going to suggest maybe just destroying one of them so that maybe we know ourselves whether that does release the spirit. So perhaps if we destroy the one that finalizes the whole process, then
Yeah, or if you want to maybe target the output, like the actual parts being manufactured rather than the machine itself. Is that kind of what you were thinking?
yeah.
You said tinker, which is an option. Tinker with mechanisms to create, modify, disable, or repair. So you could try and find either the machine or the parts that are being made. I think Belle would have told you enough that currently Lord Strangford has at least some investment in this factory and also owns a fleet of Leviathan hunters, which are these massive, enormous, almost city-sized ships which head out into the void sea to hunt the demons that live in the deep. So there are these metal parts which are for building these ships. I don't think any of you know much about shipbuilding. You don't know quite what they're for, but maybe if you sabotage them somehow, you could make them less good, as you're suggesting, or maybe you could sabotage the machine. Which way do you want to go with this?
I think I would go for sabotaging the actual product instead of the machine, because I do feel like after what my mother told me that Arlo would have doubts. I don't know, he would kind of feel for the machine, or the ghost trapped in the machine. So I think he would try to destroy the product instead.
So there's two options here. You can tinker, which would be probably less in your wheelhouse, but subtler, or you could wreck, which would be something you're better at, but runs the risk of it being obvious that it was sabotage.
Well, Michelle, you obviously don't know Arlo very well, because he's a very well-versed guy, and he's better at tinkering than he is in wrecking.
Is he now?
Yes.
Arlo has hidden depths.
Mother is nodding proudly.
Aww. Hey, he wasn't just muscle in that army.
Yeah,
In that Unity War.
Not
All
only.
right, you're going for tinker then?
I'm going for tinker.
Okay.
And for the first time today, I rolled a 6.
Incredible.
Wait, do you have a point in tinker?
I have 2.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Hello.
I had no idea.
Hidden-
I
hidden
definitely have
depth.
read the character sheet. I'm
My
impressed.
boy.
Can't wait to find out how the general got this tinkering ability. I love
Well,
it.
she sent me to pottery school when we were still in Scotland.
Pottery school.
Pottery school. You were on track to be an engineer before the war.
Something like that.
I love it. Okay, with a 6. Yes, absolutely, you can do this. You don't have much time, but you have time to figure out, okay, I don't quite know what this thing is, but this kind of fits into this, and if I make it so it's a bit misshapen, then it will sort of work for a bit and then start to break. It will be a bit wrong. And yeah, you get a few of them, I think, with a 6. You manage to get a couple of these, and just subtly do something to sabotage them a little bit.
And I think Arlo's version of subtle is he'll take some of his demolition tools out of his huge backpack that he brought, and just takes out the biggest hammer that he can find, and he just goes like this.
And that's not Rec, that's Tinker. You heard it here first, gang.
It's Tinker with a
Demolition
capital
tool.
T.
That's Tinker, which you learned in pottery
I
school.
can't wait to convince you to do Rec so we can see what that looks like. And there you go. Is there anything else you'd like to do?
I don't know how to go about this, but I want to try and like, I guess, figure out a way to sabotage it more, but not on a physical level, like plant stuff in the foreman's office almost.
Oh.
But I wouldn't. I think that might involve a flashback of like me talking to Belle and being like, hey, we get there, the place is empty, no one's actually working on anything, we can't find anything going on. What is the best way to shut this thing down? You know? Or like, let's say if you could plant something against one of the foremen, or if there's any evidence against one of the foremen, like, what would you do if you just happened to be in there?
Interesting. Do you have any ideas of what it could be before I answer?
I mean, I guess any evidence of these spirit hulls, I guess, of like their knowledge of the operations that are going on. Maybe like correspondence of like, hey, those stinky strikers, we'll beat them yet with our spirit hulls.
Okay. I'm gonna say this would be 3 stress. Because it's very convenient. But I'm gonna say that Belle, in this flashback, kind of thinks and says, I mean, there's been rumors for years that Master Slane is in a cult, and that he's been using the money he makes at the factory to advance his cult's operations. So I guess if you could plant something that made it look like he was using factory funds for his occult stuff, then he'd certainly lose his job, and that wouldn't put an end to everything, but it would be a start to get rid of that monster.
Sounds good. He doesn't happen to have, like, you know, the people in charge. How deep does this cult stuff go? Because I'm not really well versed in it.
I mean, I don't go anywhere near any of that stuff myself, but surely if he had some kind of, I don't know, arcane spell books or some kind of creepy shit in there, I don't know, something that makes him look culty. The rumors are already there, it would just push things along, you know?
Sounds good. Yeah, well, you can trust in us.
And I think that you might have a fellow gang member who has enough access to occult-looking stuff that you can...
Like you draw a pentagram around the piece of machinery that's breaking down that Arlo's tinkering with.
So yeah, I'm gonna say that you've got the stress to do this. I'm gonna ask for a roll that's really just gonna determine how much you manage to plant in the time you have before you decide it's time to go. So it's gonna be controlled. What's this gonna be? It could be a finesse because you're sneaking things in.
Yeah. I was gonna say finesse or prel.
Yeah, let's go with finesse.
Okay. Actually, one of the items is arcane implements. So
there you go.
I can say I brought that and
yeah,
brought it in. Okay. Okay, big money. That's a 2.
Okay, so I said it was controlled. So yeah. I'm going to give you hesitate. So I think as you're getting into the office, you sort of worry, is there really time for this or should we get going? So your choice is, you can either back out and say, actually, no, I'm not going to do this. Or you can push on and roll again, but it will be risky rather than controlled.
I'm going to push on.
Okay.
Ain't nothing worth this world if it ain't risky.
So roll me another finesse and it's risky this time.
You got it. Big money, different dice, always works out. That's a 1.
I mean, it was risky.
Hey, you
shit.
You decide that you're going to carry on. You step into the office, and as you do it, you hear vaguely from outside shouting and what sounds like the heavy hoofbeats and carriages coming from outside. The bill hooks clearly did not go far. They're on their way back in. And it sounds like someone else might be just about to arrive outside. If you're going to get out of here without anyone catching you, you've got to go right now.
I think I'm gonna do just that. And also maybe holler a little bit. Let everyone else know it's time to skedaddle.
All right. So did the three of you get the hell out of there?
Yeah, the thing I was going to do was very close to bootlegs anyway, so I was going
Okay.
to like steal the ledger book or something. But so yeah,
I think
just run.
if you want to do it, you can, but it will be a desperate position.
No.
Okay. Let's get out while we're ahead.
Mm.
In that case, yeah, I think that you hear that, and bootleg, you do your hootin' and hollering, as you said. And
Get! Everyone get!
And the general, you let go of the you put that big hammer back in your bag.
I was almost done tinkering.
And the three of you steal back out the way you came, because you remember the route that way. And because you come out of a side door, you're able to slip into the shadows as you see those strange metallic horses pulling the carriages of the spirit wardens up towards the factory. And you also see bill hooks disappearing into the night that they were shouting to warn that the spirit wardens were coming. But they didn't see you, and you escape back to your lair, the dilapidated townhouse in the district of Six Towers, where you all play pretend at living in a palatial estate, which it once was before that district fell to ruin.
I mean,
And-
if you can ignore the debris, it's mighty fine, I'd say.
And you've completed your first score. Yay!
Mm.
Nothing
Yippee!
went wrong.
Nothing went wrong. That was smooth.
So we have completed the score section, and we have time to do a little bit of downtime. So the way that this all works is we're going to have your payoff. So you go to Belle. Hello, Kitty. Thank you for your contribution. The payoff is you get to pet a cat who meows
That
at you.
is the payoff, indeed.
That's fantastic. You are going to go back to Belle, and you are going to let her know about the awful things that you saw in that factory. And you are going to let her know that you tried your best to do some sabotage to some of the things being made, in the hopes that if this all gets out, then it will undermine what this factory is doing. But you weren't able to make it stop. This is not 100% over. But you've taken some good steps towards it. And she is pretty horrified, pretty messed up by the information about the holes. She'd never heard of anything like it. She didn't know it was possible, and she can't quite believe it. But she believes you. You did what to the best of your ability, what she asked of you. And so she, as promised, gives each of you 1 coin, which is what they were able to spare. So if you want to mark a coin on each of your character sheets, you should have 4 slots in your wallet for coin.
Ooh-wee, we're swimming in it now, folks.
Yeah.
A shell.
Yes.
Hello. Without the others knowing,
Mm-hmm.
could Kirsten just palm the coin back into Belle's hand?
You can.
Fix her with a look,
Belle looks like a little internal war there, but she eventually decides it's not worth this argument, and she keeps the coin. So currency in Blades is abstracted as coin, with a coin being a certain amount of money, which you can use towards things in your downtime if you wish. So that is your payoff. They didn't have a lot of money, as she said, and they have a little bit more because Kirsten has returned her payoff. But the next thing we have to do is heat. Whenever you do illegal activities in this city, heat is brought down upon you. and I'm just
No
gonna
one
have
saw
a
or
look.
recognised anyone, so I don't know what.
I'm pretty sure someone saw and recognized someone.
Like thieves in the night.
I'm gonna say it wasn't quite smooth and quiet. But you were seen by somebody who was also, it seems, not really supposed to be there, given that they scattered when the spirit wardens show up. So I think you're just going to get 2 heat on your crew sheet for a contained standard exposure score. And what that does is, as your heat level goes up,
Is
the
that like all
likely
of us? Yeah.
so it's on your crew sheet, which I've
Yeah.
marked
Okay.
up,
Okay.
so
Oh,
it
okay.
accounts for all of you. But essentially what the heat mechanic does is it makes it more likely that the blue coats, law enforcement, know who you are, will interfere with your operations. You're pretty small potatoes right now. You've only got 2 heat on you. It's fine. There's loads of room for more chaos. So yes, we will now go do the downtime activities. So each of you get to do 2 activities. Your options are to recover, as in reduce harm. You can do things to reduce your heat. You can train to get XP in various things. You can indulge your vice to reduce your stress. You can acquire an asset, so that can be some kind of useful item that you want to have for your gang in the future. Or you can start a long-term project, and that's a very vague thing. But if there's something you want to do that I think is too big for a single downtime, then we'll start a clock for you to work towards that long-term project. So you get 2 each. Does anyone have any things they know they want to do from that list?
Definitely want to de-stress.
De-stress. All right, lovely. Good plan. What is your vice, Bootleg?
Luxury. I try
Luxury.
and make myself look high and mighty and rich when I really ain't. And that makes me feel good by myself.
So what specifically do you do this time to feel high and mighty?
I ran out of carriage.
Spread out a carriage.
I go for a little carriage ride through the city, wave out at the people.
That's kind of adorable. So you're gonna do, it's basically like a resistance roll, indulging vice, with your weakest quality. So of insight, prowess, and resolve, whichever you have the fewest dots reading down the way.
Well, insight and prowess are tied for 2.
Okay, roll either one.
Okay, so just 1 die.
If you've got 2 dots, then it would be you roll 2.
Okay, but it's for the whole guy, right? The whole
Okay,
insight.
so for instance, using insight, you have 4 skills, right? Hunt, study, survey, tinker. So
Yes.
it's how many of those you have any dots in.
Okay. So 2. Now I'm stressing it because I remember there's such a thing as overindulgence, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I rolled 2 2s.
Okay, and how many stress do you have?
5.
You're fine. You didn't overindulge. You can take 2 stress off.
Yippee!
Yippee! So yeah, you have de-stressed a little bit by riding around in your lovely carriage. Does anyone else want to indulge vice, de-stress?
So basically, if you don't, I carry that harm through to the next session and the 5 stress through to the next session.
You get 2 downtime activities, so you can do some recovery and de-stress. Yeah.
Okay. Because what is train? That's for.
So training is adding XP. We haven't done XP yet. We'll get to that, but it's
Oh, okay.
it's to work towards getting more dots.
I definitely want to indulge my vice because I definitely want to shed some stress for next.
Okay. Now your vice is quite interesting. So can you tell us a bit about what it's like when Kirsten of the Vale indulges her vice?
Kirsten outwardly is seemingly a religious woman. She prays loudly and vociferously with an entity which may sometimes be heard as being named Leonard. And I think this is a way in which that I'm not really going to let the audience know exactly what's going on at this moment in time.
Okay.
But it's like a conversation that goes backwards and forwards, or more like a heated argument. And I think she sort of like hides herself away in a room, but maybe sometimes, because Arlo's often in the vicinity, may hear bits of this. And yeah, that can have a. There might be thrashings about and throwing things, furniture. Strange noises come from behind the locked door.
Interesting. If Arlo was to walk past, or if we were pressed up with a glass against the door, what might we catch a snatch of? Kirsten yelling.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Mm.
I think if she was to actually be spotted, it's almost like there's a physical battle going on within herself, like she's not quite in control of her own movements. And the argument is a back and forth between, I don't want your help, I don't need your help, I want you gone. And then a sort of conciliatory, fine, I can't lose this. So it's up and down.
Interesting. And as Kirsten carries out this strange praying ritual argument all alone, somehow this takes a lid off the stress a little bit in its own strange way.
Redirects it.
Redirects it to another place. So you're going to roll in the same way, whichever your weakest of the 3 insight, prowess, or resolve is, as if you were doing a resistance.
Okay, well, I only have 1 dot in insight, 1 dot in prowess.
Okay, so roll 1.
That's a 6.
How much stress did you have?
I've used 5.
You have overindulged.
Yay.
So you clear all of your stress. Hooray.
Okay.
So the things you can do. Attract trouble. Select or roll an additional entanglement. We haven't done entanglements yet because I don't tend to roll them. I tend to just narrate them. But we can add an entanglement, which I will bring. Brag about your exploits in the wrong places, which will add 2 heat. You can have your character vanish for several weeks. Probably not super conducive towards a streamed game, but hey, if you want to roll up another character, maybe that happens. Or tapped, which means that your vice purveyor, whoever it is that you're praying to, cuts you off for a while, and you have to find some other way to relieve your stress for a little bit. Which of those do you think it's going to be?
Just remember the first one.
Attract trouble.
Oh yeah.
So an additional entanglement. Add 2 more heat. Disappear for a while, or lose the source of your vice indulging.
Can I take the first one?
You can. All right. You're going to attract trouble. We'll get to what exactly that is in a little while. Cash, what would you like to do?
I think, picking up on what Sakaya just narrated, Arlo will probably at some point while she is locked in her room walk by and hear this kind of, well, noise, this yelling, this kind of fighting within herself, and he will then be reminded of a time when he was younger and probably weaker than he is now, and he, as he walks by, stops for a moment and then kind of angrily clenches his fists and decides to go into his separate training area where he will start viciously punching one of those punching sacks that he's acquired somewhere. And he will, I think I'll use this to earn XP because he's addressed a challenge with violence or coercion. And he's done this twice. So can I mark it twice as well?
We'll get to that in a second, but for this training, you can add an extra one as well on top of all of that. So you can mark XP for any of, if you look on your character sheet next to the words insight, prowess, and resolve, there's little flags. You can mark any one of those. Or also at the bottom of your character sheet, there's playbook advancement. You can also put an XP there. So filling out one of insight, prowess, or resolve gets you an extra dot in one of the skills. Filling out playbook advancement gets you to pick an extra special ability from the list on your character sheet.
Okay.
So training lets you pick one of those tracks and put an XP in there.
I think I will mark an XP in the playbook and then decide later which special ability I'm gonna get.
Okay,
If that's okay for
lovely.
you. Yep.
Yes. So you have to fill out the whole track to get the special ability. So you've got time. You've still got
Okay.
more.
All
You've
right.
still got more ticks to get.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So you're gonna get 2 downtime actions. I think we're gonna do the other ones sort of off stream, so you have time to think about what you want to do with your other action. Because I want to have some time to tell you about XP. You've brought us onto it beautifully, Cash. So if you roll a desperate action during play, you get an XP in that action. We didn't get desperate. We got pretty close to desperate several times, but you always managed to turn it around at the last minute this session. But that's one of the things about this game. It rewards getting into trouble by
I
giving
didn't
you
know that.
XP.
I could have done my desperate roll.
You could have done it for the XP. And then each of you have 3 sort of things there that are your triggers. I think that the first one is unique to each of you. You addressed a challenge. I think you said violence is yours because you're a violent character, but Sakaya and Gask, you'll have different ones for what you addressed a challenge with. And then both of you will have, you expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background, and you struggled with issues from your vice or traumas during the session. So if you did any of those once, mark 1. If you did it more than once, you can mark 2 XP in wherever you like. So Sakaya, for example, I think that you were very affected by the attuning for reasons to do with your strange religious beliefs, and I think that maybe struggle with issues from your vice is fair to say you did. Is there anything else you think you want to mark XP for from your list?
I don't know if this is being a bit cheeky or pushing it a little bit, but I
Go for
was
it.
trying to lean into her heritage and where she is now, and how her fall from grace affects her attention to the common people. So returning the money to Belle, being part of that.
Absolutely. I think that was a really great like role playing of your background, so that would definitely get you an XP.
Okay. So is that 3?
Yeah, I think that's 3. Oh, actually, what about your top? What's your top special trigger? We didn't mention that one. You addressed a challenge with something, I should say.
With knowledge or arcane power. Oh, I don't know. I mean, really, that was just my tune things, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say you did. You used attuning to the Ghost Field a lot in this session, so mark yourself an XP for that as well.
Okay.
Wherever you like. Cash, you definitely address challenges with violence.
Twice.
Yes, so you definitely get some XP for that. Is there anything else you want to take from your list that you think we haven't mentioned?
I think the other 2 that are written there, you expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. Didn't really do that this session, and also I didn't struggle with issues from my vice, which is also luxury. I like luxurious watches and cigars, but I haven't struggled with them this session, so I don't think I can mark anything else.
So I think for this one, just mark yourself 2. And bootleg. Gask, what is your special?
You addressed a challenge with deception or influence.
You absolutely did nothing but that, so definitely take 2 for that because you
Yeah,
did 2
and
on multiple
then
occasions.
you expressed your beliefs, heritage, and background. My background is like the underworld and my past with that gang. So is that
100%. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'd say so.
And then I don't think I struggled with my vice in this one either.
Okay, so you take 3 XP to put wherever you like. Amazing. And then the final thing I'm going to cover for tonight is your entanglements. So there is a sort of mechanical way to do this in the book involving rolling entanglements, but I quite like to just base it off of what you all have done. So we see that scene of the spirit wardens clip-clopping up the street to the factory, and we see one of them kind of notice the 3 figures running away together. And we see Marlowe being held, frog-marched up by 2 more spirit wardens. The spirit wardens all look the same because they all wear completely blank silver masks over their faces and hooded cloaks, so you can't tell them apart. But the one who seems to be in charge stands over Marlowe, while Marlowe gives a very accurate description of one of that trio and explains how it was all his fault what's going on in that factory. Nothing to do with Marlowe. And we see several pages deep in the Duskfall Daily a small article talking about how there have been some reports from the docks that some of the new parts coming out of Coalridge for Strangford's latest Leviathan Hunter are not up to scratch. And the strike in Coalridge continues. And that is where we will leave it for this first little episode of the story of the Silver Spectres. I can't wait to see what you all get up to next. Thank you all so much for watching along with us on this very successful adventure where nothing went wrong at all. It has been a joy to play with you all. If you've enjoyed this, and you probably have if you're still here, if not, why are you here? What's going on? You can follow the EUphoria channel on all the socials. You'll find them listed below. You can follow EUphoria on Twitch. You should do that. Do it right now. That's a great idea. You should also, if you like consuming actual play content in audio form, maybe check out the EUphoria podcast. So, let's all go around and say who we are, where these lovely people can find you. Before we say goodbye, Sakaya, do you want to go first?
Hello everyone, I am Sakaya, and if you don't know what I look like, you can find out if you tune into the transmissions on our Twitch channel. We also run a podcast, but you can't see what I look like on that. And we run Dragon Age story, which is in its second season now, over on Twitch, and a liminal horror story on our podcast. So yeah, check that out.
Thank you so much. Cash.
Hi everyone, I'm still Cash. I played General Arlo this session, and if you want to find me on the internet, you have to look really hard. You can maybe find me under my alias Casalia on some of the social medias. I won't tell you which one, so it stays interesting for you to look. And I think that's pretty much it. I think you can see me on anything that I'm invited to if you want to see me, and if I'm not invited, you also won't see me. Pretty easy.
Love this. Mysterious. Very fitting for a crew of shadows. And Gask.
Hello, my name is Gaskinator, and I've been your rootin' tootin' shootin' cowboy today. If you want to find me, I'm usually in my house in my room, but I prefer if you didn't try and find me there. Other than that, I much like Cash, I am a bit elusive online. There's probably links that I gave to Darcy down below, and if you want to see me, you gotta invite me to more things, I guess. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee, that's my master plan.
Thank you so much. And I am Michelle Kelly. I have been your game master. You can find me on the socials at Michellecopter, so give me a follow if you want to see where else I'm going to be playing. And I forgot to mention the EUphoria Patreon. Hey, why not support EUphoria on Patreon? That's a good idea.
Whoa! We could be
Whoa!
we did bloopers, but we've never done a blooper before in our lives.
We've never done any bloopers, but there might be some extra special, super secret, super cool content for you over on that Patreon. And you'd be supporting amazing European actual play creators like ourselves and the other beautiful people on the EUphoria channel. So consider that. Throw us some money. Love that idea for us. Thank you all for being here. It's been a pleasure playing with you all, and we'll see you next time for the next session of Blades in the Dark. Bye!